So today we get to talk about paradigms, and we're even going to talk about what really is a paradigm, because we develop our paradigms really early in life, right? They come from our teachers or from our parents or from any outside influence that we have. And so paradigms, though it's really important to understand, aren't necessarily inherently good or inherently bad. But the question is today to ask, do your paradigms actually serve you? My name is Cheryl Bassett. I'm founder of Unstoppable Connections, international bestseller, and creator of the award-winning Unstoppable Family Meeting Toolkit. I am also the host of this show, Kitchen Table Conversations, as part of the Edge Network and the Global One platform. Now, families do get to tap into my 4 gifts. And those 4 gifts have everything to do with how you can create an unshakable, unbreakable foundation where everyone feels heard and respected and celebrated and supported in that process. If you'd like to learn more about the work I do for connecting families, you can go to unstoppableconnections.com. And if you have an idea for this show or you'd like to be on the show, you can also reach out to me at kitchentableconversations.com. Now, what I love to do is I love to sort of set the intention for every show, really where we step into the celebration of the person who came here today with us to share. And we do that because this show really covers like the fun stuff to the tough stuff and everything in between, but all of it is designed to ignite a conversation, to strengthen your family, and to create a positive ripple in the world. So what we do with the information that comes to this show is that we tap into one of the gifts I mentioned, the 4th gift, the gift of love, where we choose to celebrate ourselves and others. It's with that heart and that open mind that we come to celebrate Roger today, who came here today with us to share his heart, his talent, his passion, and his energy. So I'm so excited to have you meet Dr. Roger Boger. But before I bring him on, let me just read a little bit about his background. And by the way, I've known Roger forever, and I'm really excited to have him on the show today. Dr. Roger Boger is known as a trusted wellness authority. He earns a BS in biology and an MS in cellular biology, taught at The Ohio State University. Yes, that was obnoxious, but Roger was a fellow in research at Einstein Medical Center. He practiced dentistry for 26 years after earning his D.D.S. from Temple University. He lectures both nationally and internationally on health and wellness and energy medicine. Roger is the author of Your Einstein Complex, Awaken Your Inner Genius. He is also the host of the show Behind the Curtain, sharing cutting-edge advances in holistic health. So without going any longer, let's bring Roger on. Hey, Roger.
Hi, Cheryl. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and it's always an honor to spend time with you. No matter how long we've known each other, it's always refreshing to hear your opinions, thoughts, because they always are genuine and come from the heart.
Well, thank you. Yeah, well, you know, I think we tried this once before, and we're finally getting to do it, so I'm excited. And so we'll just dive right in. But when you and I talked about this, one of the first things that came to my mind was about what is a paradigm, and we're going to talk about that. But first, let's back it up. And how did you take this journey to get where you are? What makes you passionate about what it is that you share?
Well, you know, life is a continuous learning. If you choose, it can be a continuous learning experience. And for Karen and myself, we've spent time with one of my mentors, Bob Proctor, and had the chance to teach with Bob around the world. And of course, one of the main things that Bob relates to people are paradigm shifts. And so it became part and parcel of who I am and also part of my passion to share. So that's kind of how that got started, Cheryl.
And I know that, and I want you to hold up because you wrote a book, Your Einstein Complex, Awaken Your Inner Genius.
Yes, this would be the book.
Yeah, and of course I have a copy of it, and of course we always laugh about that book. I mean, it's an amazing book, but also when the first time we saw it, my husband saw it and said, "Who's Dr. Roger Boger?" So just everybody on the show, so you know, his last name is pronounced Boger.
Yes, well, I've been plagued with that for, as you can imagine, since in grade school. It was always kind of fun. Roger Boger, you know.
Roger Boger, yeah. So anyway, so obviously you wrote the book, and you've been really on this journey for quite a long time. And I know you do paradigm shifts in many ways, around your health, around not how the mind works, obviously, which is a lot of what you do in the book, that your Einstein Complex. but maybe just real quick, because I feel like it's just really valuable. Sort of, how do you work with people on their paradigm shifts around health?
Around health?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for us, it's an easy transition because it's in direct alignment with my life purpose, which is to make people more aware of what it takes to live a longer, healthier life. So I don't do anything that's not in alignment with that. So that paradigm, that is to say, that became an integral part of who I am, just like you are with kitchen table conversations, etc. One of the top 5 ideas for humanity. How does that manifest to become Cheryl Bassett? So I think we just become what our heart tells us and what our mind tells us to do. And if we listen to it, we become that. It's sort of the art of becoming, I guess.
So when I was introducing you, I was talking about how paradigms kind of get formed early in life.
Right. Oftentimes, you may be with a young person in your family and say, Mary, why'd you do that? And Mary might say, well, I don't know. Well, so, you know the difference between what's right and what's wrong. Yes, I know that. Well, then why'd you do that? Well, I don't know. Because Mary is not aware of the fact that even earlier than that, very early on in her development, her subconscious mind is wide open. And it's wide open based on a model developed in 1934 by Dr. Thurman Fleet. But he just kind of created a stick figure, Cheryl, and it was just a big head. And between the ears, he drew a line, and above the line is the conscious mind, and below the line is the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what isn't real. And so that's why somebody may have said to someone, don't walk under a ladder, okay? Maybe when they were 4, because somebody thought maybe that would bring bad luck. And so now fast forward, that person is 19 years old, and he or she comes to a ladder that somebody's doing work on a brownstone, let's say in New York or whatever, and they go around and you say, well, why did you do that? And that person might say, well, I don't know. But subconsciously somebody said, well, it may bring bad luck or whatever. But that's a paradigm, and that dictates behavior, and that person has no recollection whatsoever during their childhood when that happened, because a paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior, and almost all of our behavior is habitual. Isn't that interesting? So these things are really deep-seated in the mind. Now, I'm not talking about the brain now. I'm talking about the mind, the subconscious mind.
Yeah, the first time I had heard the expression, it's been years ago, but it still you have to wrap around it, that your subconscious mind does not know whether something is real or imagined. So thoughts, the whole concept of thoughts become things, and whatever, like you don't realize that your words are so powerful because your subconscious, you may be saying something jokingly, but your subconscious is taking it in and thinking it's real.
Without getting really too detailed, you mentioned something that's very, very relevant here, where thoughts become things. Let's say you're working with a child in your family, and he or she wants to achieve a specific goal. All right. And let's say that we show her, this is like writing music, Mary, where you have a treble clef and you have the lines E, G, B, D, F, and then spaces F, A, C, E, in the scale. And so down here at F, let's say down here at F, that Mary, her mind is vibrating at that frequency. Up here on the top of the scale at E is the frequency of her goal. Her goal might be to be an author, a dancer, a ballerina, whatever it might be for her, a teacher, some scholar. In order for her to achieve that goal, her paradigm has to change and her frequency has to change so that her frequency is the same frequency as her goal. In other words, we used to say when we were coming up, act as if already. In other words, act as if you're already a ballerina. You're already a piano player. You're already whatever you are. And so then when we teach that to our children, to be act as if we're helping them to get in that frequency that's changing their paradigm, and then the universe, interestingly enough, Cheryl, delivers all the things that are necessary for that little girl or that little boy to achieve his or her goals. I know this sounds kind of like different, but it's not. Trust me, it's not. And it's all about changing our paradigms, changing our frequency to meet our goals, to be in harmony with our goals. And then it happens.
I love it. I love it. And so these beliefs, right, as parents, and this is why I think it's so incredibly important for parents to understand this. And, man, if I could go back and look at my children, there's just things that now I know that I would go, wow, I would instill. I mean, I think I did okay, but I'm just saying, like, there's like the awareness of sort of the superpower that we have as parents, especially when our kids are young, about setting those foundations in place, right? Those subconscious core beliefs that actually get built up during that time. We were talking about this the other day with someone about sometimes we tend to put the box and the lid on our kids, right? And then they spent the rest of their lives fighting for those limitations.
Right.
So yeah, so it's really about us, but we've had that. So how do we all get to shift that paradigm, that perspective, right?
Joel Barker said, to be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. And that's really kind of what we're talking about. Buckminster Fuller said, never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Mm-hmm. And that's why the Buckminster Fuller, geodesic dome, a different idea, a different way of looking at things. And that's all, falls into the purview of changing our paradigm. For that same little girl, let's say, or little boy in your family, it's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not that holds you back. And that's a paradigm.
It's a paradigm. And I love that quote. In fact, it's up on my wall here. Somebody got me a plaque one time and it says exactly what you just said. It's not who you are. It's so powerful. It's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not. And that is the shift, right? When we step into owning, right, and recognizing our true power that's in us, which is really another interesting point. I love talking with you because we can dig into this stuff. But we were talking one time with someone about the fact that we talk about self-worth, and self-worth is extremely important, but it's really our inherent worth. And remembering that, right? Because self-worth comes from things outside of us. Inherent worth comes from within.
I have a story that may be relevant to that. My father, God rest his soul, when he was still alive, he was going to college pre-law during the Depression, and they ran out of money. So he had to come back to where we lived in Pennsylvania, and he went to work in a steel mill. Mm-hmm. And that then sealed his fate, so to speak. I mean, he was locked into that and believed that that was his station in life, but it was frustrating. And he didn't understand why, because he didn't know about paradigms. Right. So one day I had a boat, a fairly substantial boat, and we were bringing it into a harbor where I lived on Hilton Head Island. And my father was standing up in the bow, and I had the isinglass open, which is the front glass of the boat, and I could hear him up there. He said, "I don't understand it." I said, "What's that, Dad?" And my next door neighbor was Michael Jordan's parents. I mean, it was kind of an uppity neighborhood. He said, "I don't understand where these people got all this money." I said, "That's pretty simple." "What?" He said. I said, "That's pretty simple. They all probably read the same book." "What book is that?" I said, "Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich." They changed their paradigms. They learned how to manifest their future. Yeah. They understood this. And he grumbled, and I said, "You're on this boat because I read that book. We're in this house because I read that book. We're taking a ride in the plane because I read that book." And whenever I have a chance to come from the heart, like I am with you today, that story really resonates with me. It really conjures up tears in my eyes, because
Mm-hmm.
So many people go, here it comes, right? So many people go through their life without that knowledge.
Right. Yeah, and I will just like say right now, like I read that book years ago, and it's one I'm going to pick back up and read again because it's one that I don't think you can actually read too many times. But it has been a while, and it keeps coming up in my awareness because I know for Bob Proctor, like we've talked a lot about Bob recently, that was the game-changing book for him too. And sometimes I think people tend to think, oh well, and here's a paradigm shift for you. People tend to think, oh well, that's just old information now, but it's not. It's timeless. And if you haven't read that book or you haven't read it in a while, I would encourage everybody out there to go read it. And it's not about making money. I mean, that's a piece of it, right? That could be about it, but it's really about how you think and how you get to step into the best version of who you came here to be. And and we all want that for our kids.
Yes. And, sadly, most people are extras in their own movie.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, they're not the star that they should be. And we have, who's the director? The director is your subconscious mind. So what do you really want? Esther Hicks would say, want. What do you really want?
You really
want the function of who you are, and who you are is a function of your subconscious mind and its ability to change paradigms.
Mm-hmm.
And there are ways to do that.
So we've talked about a lot about this shifting of paradigms, and it's kind of like, change your paradigms, change your life, right? That's how you get to step in and own it. We also had this kind of cool conversation the last time, and I know we were both trying to recall a little bit, but we were talking about really what separates us from, so, if I'm a kid and I have a dog, what's the difference that I get, what's the different choice I get to make? Because a dog or a cat or any animal, right, can't actually change that paradigm.
That's true. Well, we have a thinking mind. And remember, so that's in your conscious mind. And schools teach to the conscious mind, not to the subconscious mind. And unfortunately, they don't teach kids how to change their paradigm. And so kids have all this knowledge. And if the knowledge is incorrect to achieve their goals, it becomes frustrating for them. And when they get frustrated, maybe they act out, or they do things that are not consistent with their well-being, let's say. And so I think that the introduction of any person to understand the fact that their subconscious mind can be reprogrammed. You can change your paradigm. How do you do that? You would say to your children, let's do this every day for a month. Let's do a task every day for a month until it becomes habit. Habit, then, changing your habit is a way to change your paradigm, because all behavior is habitual, right? So we could say to somebody, record a mantra. I am so happy and grateful now that whatever it is that you want your child to do, teach him or her that, so that they understand that they are in control of their own destiny. Otherwise, these days, children feel, a lot of them are on medication because they're depressed, or with what's going on in the world today, and homeschooling and not being able to socially interact, etc. It's a problem. And so if we can help our children to understand that they are in control of their own subconscious mind, and therefore in control of their paradigms, they then can better deal non-pharmacologically with their frustrations and concerns.
Yeah. Too many times the solution becomes drugs, and there's obviously things that we can tap into that don't need to be that. There was a story I saw recently, and it's reminding me of that. There was a little boy, and his mom had him say a mantra on the way to school. And it was the cutest thing. If you haven't seen it, you should just go watch it. Look, he walked to school saying, "I am happy, I am smart, I can do anything. I am happy, I am smart, I can do anything." And I thought, wow, what a beautiful mind. So this little boy, right? Like, I'm sure he's going to grow up and just be absolutely amazing, right? Because he's walking to school every day. Well, maybe he's not walking to school now. He's But his mantra is, I am happy, I'm smart, I can do anything. Actually, it might have been, I'm blessed, I'm smart, I can do anything. But anyway, it was just this beautiful thing that he was saying. And, and so his subconscious, that's going to become his core belief. He was probably 3 or 4 years old, or 5. Well, he's probably 4 years old saying this. So how beautiful is that?
It is great, because that's something that he can operate, or she can operate with. Imagine how frustrating it becomes for a child to have superior knowledge and continue to get inferior results. It doesn't match. And so consequently, they become frustrated with their ability to manifest a life that they, in their heart of hearts, really deserve and want. Again, what do you want? So schools are teaching knowledge, but they're not teaching how to change a paradigm.
Right. Or to really identify what it is that makes you come alive and passionate about things, right? Like we learn a little bit of everything, but what really, like, I know that was another thing too about, like, okay, so they get straight A's, and that's great, but which thing really lights them up, or the kid that doesn't get good grades, but does get good grades in one class, I mean, it's like, let's focus that, because that obviously is an area that's lighting up that child.
We say to the children at a kitchen table, said, I just say that, don't say that it, say that I just read, I just read this funny quote. It said, the same old thinking will create the same old results, or we become what we think about. What are you thinking about, Mary? What are you thinking about, Bobby? Well, oftentimes they're not thinking at all. Most people rather die than think. As a matter of fact, they do. Rene Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. He didn't actually, he said, dubito ergo sum, not cogito ergo sum. Dubito ergo sum means I doubt, therefore I am. If you have the ability to doubt things, to be analytical, you can become more, because you're seeing the integral parts, if that makes sense.
Yeah. This is funny, because yesterday I was talking about this sort of a paradigm shift a little bit in terms of how you look at something. And we've all heard the expression of you are what you eat, right? We've all heard that. We've heard it many times, and we'll even say you are what you eat. And it kind of becomes so commonplace that we don't think about what we're really saying. And so I once had a speaker who flipped that and said, what you eat becomes you. What you eat becomes your hair, your heart,
right,
your liver, right? But what you just said, it made me think of it again, was, you are what you think. Well, what you think becomes you. What you think about and put your energy to is what you become, right? And I feel like so many people just don't understand the power they already have, right?
That's true. I think the quotation, you are what you eat, digest, assimilate, and excrete, is important. And you are what you think, do, and become is what you will become. So, it's a process.
It's a process.
The process is, once we can share it with our families, once we can share with people that we love, that, listen, you are the captain of your own ship. You're the engine, the motor that runs your ship, or the sail that powers your boat, is your paradigm. And it's the set of the sail. The same winds fall on us all, but it's the set of the sail that makes the difference between getting to where we want to get in life and not. And the sail, the mainmast of the sail, is your paradigm.
Right. Love it. So here's a fun thing I kind of wanted to throw out. I thought, like, for families, I always love like flipping out a little challenge when it's possible. And I've done this so many times, and sometimes I think, why didn't I do that? But if you have something you are, well, okay, let me give a different example. When you think trying to remember something, which I do a lot these days, like I'm trying to remember somebody's name or a song title or whatever. And I just go, oh my gosh, I should be able to remember this. And I keep thinking. And eventually I go, you know what, I can't, like, of course now we can look it up. But before, like, if I didn't look it up, like an hour later, it would fly into my head. And I wasn't even thinking about it then, because that's what your subconscious right, continues to do.
Right.
You gave it a problem, you gave it a suggestion, and even though I had let it go on my, externally, internally in my subconscious, I was still in that space working on it, and all of a sudden that person's name or that song title would pop into my head. And I know that they say you can go to sleep at night and give not anything that's going to keep you up all night, like something simple, like you're trying to come up with a new title for your workshop, or you're trying to come up with some new fun thing that your family can do, whatever. It doesn't really matter what it is, but go to sleep thinking about something that you might like to solve. And a lot of times when you wake up in the morning, it's sitting there, the solution, the answer, the idea, the power of what your subconscious does even while you're sleeping, right?
Right. There's recent studies have shown a different part of the human brain. And, we have a lymphatic system in our bodies, but we also have a glymphatic system in our brain cells. And this does not operate during the day. The lymphatic system works like your circulatory system because you have your heart that beats. Your lymphatic system is a system that moves lymphatic juices, there's more lymphatic liquid in the body than there is blood. But it's the muscular movement that moves the lymph around, which helps to detox the body. Well, the glymphatic system in your brain does not work during the day. But guess when it works, to your point? It works at night. And it's at this point in time when your brain is has the most ability to be active and creative, your subconscious and conscious mind, when you're not quote unquote thinking about it.
Right.
That's science is kind of fun.
Yeah. So that's just a little fun thing to maybe try. Like, just let your kids come, like, even do it with them. Just think of some small thing. Like I said, nothing that's going to stress you out, make you want to stay up all night thinking about it. We're not looking for that kind of a problem, but something that you're kind of trying to come up with some creative idea or creative solution to it. It can be a beautiful way to do it. And then when you wake up in the morning, the answer can be there. I would encourage you to write it down, because if you're like me, an hour later, I go, now, what was that really amazing idea I woke up with? Right. But so I've had to learn to write stuff down, but I think that, because a lot of times when you first wake up, it'll be sitting there. At least it is for me. So it's
that activity is facilitated by a phytocannabinoid called CBN. A lot of people probably listening to this podcast have heard of CBD. Well, CBN is one of the over 140 different phytocannabinoids that are found in hemp, which is a cannabis plant. So just FYI.
Yeah, no, it's so anyway, we're kind of digging in today. This is great. Like, these are just amazing conversations that you can have with your family. I think, again, going back to, like, obviously the whole concept of paradigms, and but I think fascinating, right, Roger, in terms of how the body really works. Like, what does it do during the day? What does it do at night? That might be another show that we get to come on and do, just to really delve into some of that stuff, because I feel like the more connected we are to understanding that, right, like, the more that we should be in awe of really what our bodies do. And the fact that animals can't actually change their paradigms and we should be, like, standing in gratefulness for that, for sure.
Well, all living things are connected, Cheryl, to your point again. The plant and animal, and human experience is all connected. And the clues are always right there in front of us. Mm-hmm. Whether or not we paid attention to the clues. Like, not everybody knows that walnuts are good for your brain. We're talking about the brain today. When you open up a walnut shell and look in there, gosh, like right? Yeah. Tomatoes are good for your heart. You cut a tomato in half and look at it, and what does it look like? It looks like the chambers of your heart. And Mom always said, if you want to have better eyesight, eat your carrot. So you cut a carrot, slice it, it looks like the iris to your eye. All of these things are relevant and self-evident. And, I love it. So there's a whole other thing, families, you could actually share with your kids tonight. It's about cut up some vegetables and look at it and figure out what it looks like. Because you're right. And I have heard that before, and it's fascinating. So we are at that time. So, Roger, like, what we love to do every show, and when we close it out, is to kind of create what I call a dot, which is a drop of thought.
Most people might think of it as a pearl of wisdom, but just that parting thought, that little drop that you want to leave on the audience, what would that be for you?
Well, I think the theme today, Cheryl, is how do we change our paradigm? We know that it's the thoughts and habits of other people that are in our subconscious mind. So people are saying, well, gosh, how do I change that? There are a couple of really obvious ways. The dot. One, writing down what it is that you want to change and have a goal card. Okay. And just focus on one area. So write it down and then repeat that goal card every evening before you go to bed. Read it. And the repetition of that activity will create a change, at least begin the change of a paradigm in your mind.
All right. So much great stuff. Love it. And go, seriously, people, I mean, I already said it, but Think and Grow Rich, like, it's a great book. So if you haven't read it, absolutely put it on your list and do it. Roger, thank you so much for being here. I do close it out with the same dot because it's my heart and my passion about why I even do what I do. But I'll close it out with that. And I just want to thank you for being here. It's been a wonderful conversation.
It's my honor, as always, Cheryl Bassett.
Thank you. So thank you all for being here. My dot that I always share is that ripples don't flow in, they flow out. And if we really want to see change out in our world, then it's going to start with us. It's going to start in our own homes, and it's going to start with our own families. So go hug them, sit down at the kitchen table and have a conversation and share some of the beautiful wisdom that was shared here today. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Bye.